folks, Chef Stephen Allen here, May 2nd, 2022, and I'm about to head out for a spring foraging session. I am looking to make a beautiful fresh pesto, and those ingredients that I'm going to find to do it are right here along the banks of the Grand River in Ontario. So I'm going to be getting some wild garlic. There's going to be lots of the wild garlic mustard. Now that's an invasive species, and it would be great if we could rid the entire province of this stuff. It's never going to happen. It is so prolific at the moment. The one good thing about it is that it's delicious. I'm going to be picking some stinging nettles as well, and I'll show you how to prepare them later on in the video to use in this pesto so that we don't sting ourselves. And lastly, I'm going to be finding some ramps, which are wild leeks. So, enough of me blabbering on about all this stuff. Let's get out there and find this stuff. So we have a really nice large patch of wild garlic here. So how can you tell it's wild garlic? Well, first of all, you pick a leaf, you smell it, and it smells like garlic. And it tastes like garlic. It's very easy to distinguish. They have very tall and pointy leaves. There's one sort of stem running through the middle of the leaf itself. Now it really looks like your typical long grass that you would have in your yard if you let your grass grow a little too long. Now if you dig them up from the root, you'll end up with a bulb like that. So they don't grow in the big bulbs like you would think of propagated garlic. I'm just going to cut off the greens like this, and we're going to wash them up, puree them up in our pesto, and it's going to add that fantastic garlic flavor to it. So these big clumps of green, the dark green, are the stinging nettle. Now let me show you why it's called stinging nettle. Let's get a little stick here. Now, you can see all those little silvery needle looking things. Careful with these, as I said, about those little needles that I probably just showed you a picture of. So those little needles will inject histamine into you and a number of other chemicals, which causes a really irritating burning, stinging sensation, hence stinging nettles. We can get rid of it by blanching them quickly in boiling water. It stops the stinging sensation, and you can drop them in the boiling water for 10 seconds, pull them out, and eat them just like spinach with no fear of stinging whatsoever. And this is going to be great in our pesto. And it is really, really high in protein. In fact, one of the highest content of protein green vegetables that you can find. So, this is the wild garlic mustard. It is just about to grow and flower. As you can see, these little flower buds here. It's a little beautiful white flower that pops up. This time of year, the leaves are very delicate. You can grind this up as you would a basil leaf, as we are going to do with our pesto. They're very easy to pick. There's no worries about stings with these guys. They're very delicate. They have a heart-shaped leaf. Another week into the season, you're gonna see these little white flowers appear. They have a distinct bitter flavor to them that reminiscent of mustard. The seeds as well, or the flowers themselves, much sweeter. So they're actually preparing to attract the pollinators, and because of that, they actually have this sweet flavor to them. So unfortunately, it is a horrible plant which actually strangles a lot of our local flora here in Ontario. And because of that, it will kill off some indigenous species that we really want to have around forever. So if you do have a chance to pick these and eat them, pick them by the bushel. And last but not least, folks, we have the star of the show. Well, I'm the star of the show, but the star of the show food-wise. And quite frankly, it's not the star of the show as in it's the most amazing of them all, because everything that we've picked so far is equally delicious in its own way. But this one may be the star of the show because it is the most highly sought after, which is the ramp, which is the wild leek. So when you're walking through the forest, all those little mottled bits of green you see on the ground there, that's a trout lily. So that's another edible, which I can talk about another time. It's quite delicious. I've been eating them the whole walk all the way out here. But you see that swath of green behind me, and I think there's another one. Let's see. Oh, a little one right there. Now, here's where we're going to talk about ethically harvesting the ramps. So if you find little patches about the size of that one, which is maybe 100 ramps, and that one over there, which is maybe 150 ramps, leave them alone. Don't touch them. These ones have just sort of taken root here the last couple of years. I know that because this is one of my haunts that I like to go walking. But let me walk in the woods a bit further, and I'm going to show you swaths of thousands. And when we get to those, we're going to source them ethically. And by that, I mean, if we're going to pick bulbs, we're looking for bunches of the thousands. And if I see in a, let's say a square meter, if I see maybe 50 to 100 ramps there, I may pick 2 or 3 with the bulbs. It actually opens up the ground for the rest of them to spread and to propagate their species, which is actually a good thing. You aerate the soil for them, and there's thousands of them left to do so. But if you find a spot with maybe a little less than that, you can pick the leaves. Off each plant, maybe you want to pick 1 leaf, and then you can go on to another plant, maybe 5 feet away, and pick another leaf. So let's go find that big swath of ramps. So what you're looking for through this little mottled green of the trout lilies are big bunches of green like in there. But let's walk along this deer trail here. So I found the swath that I was looking for. Not too hard when you're looking for a bulb and you've been here before. It's kind of like being surprised one year that you find a red tulip in front of your house, knowing that the red tulip shows up in the same spot every year because it's a bulb. So same thing with these, and they spread out, so they'll actually propagate by spreading out through the forest. So when you find a bunch here, I'm in a little swath here of maybe 1,000 or so, but there's another one there, another one over there, etc., all through this spot that I have. Very secretive spot, and they are very young at the moment. So I'm probably about a week or two too early to pick the bulbs. Not that I pick too many anyway. I like to pick enough to pickle maybe 2 or 3 jars for myself to put on charcuterie platters. But what we're going to do on each of these plants, which actually has 2 leaves on them, we're only going to pick 1 of the leaves. So nice and pointy, almost like spearhead shaped. It has a central stem that goes up the middle of it. Very oniony. This one, nice little spiciness to it. And I'm just going to pick about 20 or 30 of these leaves throughout this pile here so we can make our pesto. See you in a bit. So folks, that ends the foraging aspect of this video. Next, we head back to the kitchen to make this pesto. Get out in the woods and find some of this stuff yourself. It is I was about to say it's the best time of year. I think I made another video where I think I was saying it's the most wonderful time of the year. Fall and spring are so wonderful out in the woods. The bitey bugs, they haven't shown their heads yet, or should I say they haven't shown their pincers or their daggers yet. And it's just great to get out here. You're not sweating or schwitzing, as I like to say. And yeah, it's just, come on, isn't that beautiful? Just one more little note, in case I haven't mentioned it. This is not meant as a definitive identification guide. None of my videos are. I hope that you will all go out and get yourselves a good field guide if you think about doing something like this, getting out in the woods and foraging your own edibles. The ones we picked today are all easily identifiable, but I do suggest that you do a little bit of research before you go out there and get some of this stuff. You will be pleasantly surprised at how delicious these things are.